was here, I was talking to you about the feasts, the two feasts. I talked about the first feast is when a person turns to God, when a person decides to follow God. And it tells us that there is rejoicing in heaven over that incident for each one. So that's the first feast. And that is at the beginning of our journey with God. The second feast is at the end. We saw in Revelation, the last 4 chapters speak about the world to come. And it begins with a feast. And that is the feast when all who have decided to follow God, all who have decided to have Him part of their life, will be together and will enjoy and have that feast. And that is likened to a marriage feast. And the bridegroom is the Lord Jesus Himself. And we see that the bride is all those who have decided to follow Him. Now, in between these two feasts, there is a long journey. There's a long journey. Now, I don't know what's going to happen to you on your journey, and you don't know what's going to happen to me on this journey. Of course, I have already traveled a long way, and I might be towards the very end of it. But what is still to come, you don't know. But I can tell you, and I can assure you, and I can guarantee you that this journey is not easy. This journey is not quick, and this journey is not cheap. Not easy, not quick, not cheap. You know, the other day we were planning on going on a journey, and so we asked our travel agent, get us a ticket, get us an airline which is easy, quick and cheap. That's what we look for, isn't it? You'll see on the internet also, easy, quick and cheap. So we are taught and brought up in this culture. But I can tell you one thing, this journey is not easy, not quick, and not cheap. I'm just going to read out a few verses for you today. Now, the first one that I'll read is from 2 Timothy and chapter 4 and verse 7. Now, we need to remember that 2 Timothy is a letter which Paul wrote to Timothy, and he wrote it towards the end of his life. He was in prison. He was awaiting because death sentence had been passed. And towards the end of his life, this is what Paul writes. You know, we always listen to the last words. We say, what did that person say before he died? And these are practically his last words. Chapter 4 and verse 7, he says, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now remember, the fight is not easy. Remember, the race is not quick. And remember, the faith is not cheap. Let's just look at the fight. He says, I have fought the good fight. So that means if there is a good fight, there is also a bad fight. Everybody is fighting. What are you fighting? Are you fighting a good fight, or are you fighting a bad fight? What are bad fights? The bad fights are when we are attacking each other. Bad fights are out of tension. Bad fights are out of selfish aims. Bad fights are when we desire something. Bad fights are destructive. Bad fights always bring about unpleasantness and hurt. There's a fight, there are fights going on all over. Ukraine, Bad fight. What was the result? M17, innocent people flying 32,000 feet above, and they are shot down and they die. Bad fight. Bad fight. Syria, Iraq, fighting going on. People who don't have the same belief as you getting beheaded. Bad fight. Gaza, bad fight. For territory, for supremacy, bad fight. All the wars in the world are bad fight. Are you fighting a bad fight? Attacking one another, selfish, destructive. But it's a good fight. And what's the good fight? The good fight is for a cause. I'm going to read out 2 verses to you which have become like my life motto, especially for the work which I do among the slums. Number 1, Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 17 says, "Learn to do right, seek justice, encourage the oppressed, defend the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow." This is a good fight. To fight for those who are marginalized. This is a good fight. Another verse, Proverbs 31:8 says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Speak for the right of all who are destitute." This is a good fight. The fight to speak up for those who are oppressed. Very recently we celebrated our Independence Day and we spoke of freedom, that the freedom that we won. But you know what is real freedom? And that's the fight. We have to continue fighting. Don't relax. India is free. India is not free. Let me tell you. India may be free from the British, but India is not free. And you have to continue the good fight. The good fight is to fight for freedom from poverty, from oppression. Fight for freedom from exploitation of the weak, the poor, the hungry. Fight against prejudice. Fight against superstitions. Children being killed as sacrifice just to get money? Ridiculous. You open the paper and you feel disgusted at what's happening in this country. And that's what we need to fight against. Fight for freedom from atrocity. Fight for freedom from corruption. Fight for freedom from disease. There are people who fought against polio. There are people who are still fighting against cancer. Fight these fights. These are the good fights. Fight for justice. Fight for truth. Fight for positive changes. Fight for harmony. Fight for the preservation of environment. These are the things worth fighting for. Don't waste your time on the bad fight. So fight against what is inside you which is wrong. Fight against the selfishness which is inside you. Fight against the pride which is inside you. Fight against the destructive anger which is there. Fight against harmful addictions. Fight against hardness of heart. Fight against this. I think yesterday I read in the paper, a man kills another man for a parking space. He loses his temper and he kills. Every day you open the paper and you read about rapes. Rapes of little babies. Rapes of little children. Rapes of young girls, rapes of women. What wickedness! Boys of Mount Carmel, don't smile. The word rape is not a sniggering word. It is a blot on the face of the men of this country. Fight against it. You boys have to fight against it. You have to decide that no boy of Mount Carmel will ever treat a woman, a girl, with disrespect and dishonor. Never. Speak with disrespect and dishonor. Again and again, I'm telling you, fight the good fight. Fight against this. Take a pledge. We are men. We are not animals that we have to run after every female. We are men, and we are made by the same God who has made the women. And we will treat them with respect. Fight the good fight. My heart is very heavy. We speak so much. What do we do? Let me tell you. Some, they are so afraid of fighting that they avoid fight. They'll just go and sit in one corner. Some will give up. I give up, I lose. Some retire. I'm too old, now I've retired. And they step aside. Don't do that, because life is a fight. This journey is a fight. And as I told you in the beginning, the fight is not easy. May God give you the wisdom to understand and to do right.